Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Christian Brown. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal Robert William Andrews, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome the Army Indigenous Development Program delegation, the 1st Recruit Training Unit from the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, and the 1st Recruit Training Battalion from the Australian Army, also from Wagga Wagga. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and remained with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends can mourn loved ones, born or buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Robert William Andrews. Robert Andrews was born on the 26th of October 1891 at Lawrence, near Proserpine in Queensland. Known to his family and friends as Will, he was one of 8 children born to Robert and Betsy Andrews. Will's older brother Norman died in 1894 at the age of 7, leaving Will to grow up alongside 6 sisters and 3 older half-siblings from his father's first marriage. During Will's childhood, the family lived in Bowen, where Will and his siblings attended the local state school. He went on to work in Bowen as a farmer and joined the 27th North Queensland Light Horse Regiment, training part-time with D Troop of A Squadron. William Andrews enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 4th of August 1915. He was tall for his time, standing at 6 feet 2 inches. His enlistment accepted, Will was allotted to the 11th Reinforcements of the 9th Australian Infantry Battalion with the rank of private. After 2.5 months of initial training, Private Robert Andrews left Brisbane in the troop ship Siang B on the 21st of October 1915, bound for Egypt. In Egypt, Andrews was taken on strength of the 49th Battalion in late February 1916 and continued to train. After 2 weeks, he was transferred to the 4th Divisional Artillery and mustered as a gunner to the 44th Battery of the 11th Field Brigade. The brigade had been formed in early 1916 to provide artillery support to the newly formed 4th Division. The 11th Field Brigade remained in Egypt in the first half of 1916, moving from Tel El Kebir to Serapeum on the Suez Canal. Andrews was promoted twice in Egypt, first to acting bombardier and then to corporal in early May. In June, Andrews and the rest of the 11th Field Artillery Brigade left Egypt and sailed to Marseille in France, where they joined the 4th Division on the Western Front. The 4th Division was initially based near Armentières in a section known as the Nursery Sector, where soldiers would be introduced to the rigours of trench warfare. By August, the 4th Division had joined in the bitter fighting in the Somme Valley, seeing action at Poitiers, Mouquet Farm and Fleur between August and October. Writing home in September 1916, Andrews expressed his sympathy for the infantry, who had, in his words, suffered a great deal compared to the artillery. In early October, Andrews was exercising with the artillery horses when a horse fell on his foot. The impact crushed and fractured the main bone of his right foot and dislocated his big toe. He was transferred through the 4th Australian Field Ambulance, 11th Casualty Clearing Station, 23rd Ambulance Train and 1st Convalescence Depot until he was admitted to the 14th General Hospital at Wimereux. By this stage, his foot was heavily inflamed and bruised. Evacuated to England, he was admitted to the Warncliffe War Hospital for the treatment, remaining until late February 1917 as he recovered. In recommending that Andrews' furlough be extended until early March, a doctor at the 2nd Australian Hospital reported that he was still unable to walk properly on foot. A special boot was ordered to assist Andrews, supporting the healed fracture and the bunion that had formed following his toe's dislocation. Discharged from hospital, Will was declared temporarily unfit for overseas general service in late March 1917. Instead of being sent back to the Western Front, he remained in England, where he undertook further training. He spent the remainder of 1917 at the Australian training camps at Lark Hill and Perham Downs, training with the 43rd Battery and the Reserve Brigade Australian Artillery. While with the Reserve Brigade, he was temporarily promoted to the rank of Extra Regimental Sergeant, but reverted to Corporal in February 1918. Will returned to France in April 1918, rejoining the 11th Field Artillery Brigade in the Somme Valley. The brigade continued to support the 4th Division throughout 1918 as it fought at Villers-Bretonneux, Hamel, Amiens during the Allied advance to the German Hindenburg Line. In late September, the brigade was based outside Ronsoy, providing a creeping barrage in support of an American attack. The unit diary recorded, "Our artillery has been active throughout the day, but that it had been difficult to obtain definite information as to the actual situation at the front. The day has been another strenuous one for all ranks of the brigade. In response, retaliation from the enemy was heavy on forward areas and battery positions, and much machine gun fire was experienced at the battery positions. According to the unit diary, this combination of artillery and machine gun fire was accountable for many of the casualties sustained. By the end of the day, the 11th Field Artillery had lost 17 animals, had 4 guns break, and suffered 34 casualties. Among the dead was Corporal Robert William Andrews, who was killed in action at Ronsoy on the 29th of September, 1918. He was 26 years old. Sympathy flooded to his parents and sisters from members of the Bowen community. Will was remembered as a steady, industrious young man who was greatly respected. A year after his death, his family inserted a small commemorative notice in his honour at the local newspaper, remembering Will and his comrades, Lieutenant Batty, Gunners Holden and Buckland. Will Andrews' body was buried at Razell Community Cemetery Extension. After the war, an Imperial War Graves headstone was erected over his grave, bearing the inscription, "Chosen by his family. He gave his life for his country." His name is also listed on the honour roll on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Robert William Andrews, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres, or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.